I'm first to know Chief Meteorologist Casanova Nurse. We do have some active weather that can affect some of our areas in the overnight period. Any kind of severe weather at night when folks are sleeping is a little more hazardous than what you can anticipate during the day. So that's why we're giving it a little more attention. Even though I'm not forecasting massive amounts of severe weather, the areas and neighborhoods that can be impacted by such activity, it can be rather hefty and serious. So that's why we're giving it a little more attention. What you need to know right off the top is going to be the arrival of some storms in a scattered fashion around 3 o'clock in the morning in our western tri-state areas, Chattahoochee River counties, Flint River counties, Lake Seminole region, and then progressing towards the east through the sunrise time frame and then exiting out the eastern sections of the Swanee Valley by 11 a.m. So about an 8-hour window of a period of time where we can see some individual thunderstorms that can kick up wind gusts to levels around 60, 65 miles per hour that can cause some local damage in some neighborhoods. We can see a few of those individual storms also producing hail. You may recall about a week ago, we had similar activity at the late night hours, large hail. The setup is slightly different, but it is also capable of causing storms with hail. And we can have a couple of tornadoes. The selection of area is very defined. It's not going to be area wide, but as a precaution, we'll say areas around and north of the Florida-Georgia line are more susceptible to all three of these weather hazards. Areas along the coast, not so much of a tornado risk. Interstate 10 corridor, kind of minimal. The more north you go into southwest Georgia, the more probability there is for a couple of thunderstorms to have strong or persistent rotation that can support a tornado. Again, tornado at night, not a good thing. That's why you need to be aware of what's going on. Right now, there's just some areas of lingering cloudiness, steady upper level wind flow and the moisture coming with it, patchy low level clouds. But the main complex of storminess is stretching from southeast Texas, southwest Louisiana, right up into the mid-south region and into the Midwest. Very potent area of low pressure. This is where the bulk of our numbers of severe thunderstorms will be across the Tennessee Valley, Ohio River region, and lesser amounts across the deep south. But even one can cause issues for areas affected by a severe thunderstorm, especially late at night or before sunrise in the morning. So this outlines the areas that are more susceptible to perhaps getting a few more of these severe thunderstorms in terms of gusty winds, hail producers, maybe a couple tornadoes. Essentially around the Highway 82 corridor, but locally speaking, it does include Miller County through Baker and Mitchell, as well as counties around the Interstate 75, Colquitt, Cook, Tifton to the north, and even a sliver of Berrien County around the Enigma area. Again, it's just an outline of where we can see more of these active storms compared to less, compared to maybe isolated storms. And this is for tonight. I'd say roughly about, again, midnight at the earliest through about 3 a.m. Some of these zones can be adjusted during that time frame. But the yellow shades indicating there can be scattered occurrences, a handful of severe storms, maybe one or two that prompt a tornado warning. There can be a little more potential for tornadoes across interior southwest Georgia. So in Colquitt, Georgia, you're one of those zones within that numerous range where you can have a few severe thunderstorms, and including a couple that can cause some spin. So we adjusted our hazard scale to show a little more precision as far as where we are in terms of the expectations of these hazards. Several of the thunderstorms, we're going to put that gust risk in about the mid-range of the medium category. And I think that barely outpaces the hail chances that these thunderstorms can have. The tornado risk is just a notch lower in the medium range, and just simply means that we can certainly have storms that build up to a level and contain characteristics that would prompt tornado warnings or severe thunderstorm warnings. And of course, if you do get those types of advisories and alerts, it means that severe thunderstorms with gusty winds and or hail, large hail, those are imminent. A tornado warning means a tornado is being detected on radar or is otherwise sighted. And that has various levels of alert characteristics as well. Nothing happening for this evening. So if you're watching now and you're thinking, oh, my dinner plans might be interrupted, or I have a date tonight and I don't want to get caught out in storms, I don't see anything happening locally speaking between now and about midnight. I think midnight is the very earliest we can have any kind of activity coming close to our region. There can be a couple little stray sprinkles. I wouldn't I wouldn't say that's impossible, but there is that low-end chance for just a few nuisance showers. So 9 p.m., cloudiness, breezes coming in from the south. So that's going to set the stage for that window of time where we do get the opportunity for active thunderstorms. Taking the forecast and focus, pausing it at 2 a.m. That's when we can also see maybe a couple passing showers, steadier breezes, but that broken line of thunderstorms starts to advance towards the tri-state region based on this projection. There can be a little wiggle room as far as timing goes. These do tend to maybe be a little faster than what guidance can show us, but I do believe and agree with the overall general timeline of this activity and the distribution of it. Again, I'm going to reemphasize, I do not expect every single county to get a severe thunderstorm warning. It's going to be very selective and dependent on where these form, how they interact with the wind flow, how they interact with the increasing moisture, and the push and the lift caused by a frontal zone. We can see a little more flare-up around sunrise and shortly thereafter, but again, very selective in terms of overall location and coverage. But as we go into the late morning hours, the activity starts to push aside. We do have quite a bit of warmth. That's going to linger. We're not going to have 80 degrees all night long, but the air mass itself is much warmer. And it's a lot more humid because of the south winds. And they've been picking up in steady speed for the last several hours. Wind speeds range from about 8 to 16 miles per hour. Certainly a stiffer breeze if you're at the coast, but even across inland areas. That low-level flow can fuel these individual thunderstorms that try to come in, and that can create some issues when it comes to how quickly they can build. And with the lack of stabilizing factors, one big stabilizing factor is it's going to be at night. However, I don't think that totally offsets the wind and the overall motion of the air and how the wind flows at various levels. That can certainly help to fuel some of these individual thunderstorms. So here's another version of the forecast and focus, a little more of an expanded view in terms of the data itself and the time that it extends out. So I still believe in the possibility of spotty passing showers, non-severe, through at least midnight, and I'd even say around 2 o'clock in the morning. Very doubtful we'll have any kind of substantial thunderstorms coming our way. But 3 o'clock is when that line of thunderstorms that can cause some severe weather this evening across Alabama, that enters the Chattahoochee Valley, and we can see an extension of that with pockets of rain and strong gusty winds in the easternmost panhandle. That advances towards the east. Individual thunderstorms race to the northeast. The whole broken line moves to the east. So around sunrise to that morning commute, maybe around the time that middle schoolers are generally dropped off, that's where we can see, again, these pockets of rain, a strong wind flow from the southwest, and individual thunderstorms that can be enhanced by those wind forces that can make them go severe in terms of hail or in terms of straight line wind gusts or perhaps even a bit of spin. We have to watch out for all three examples of severe weather going into the morning hours. Now, by 11 o'clock, I do believe the thrust of the storminess will be pushed off to the east. We'll see the front pushing through in those eastern areas as well. There can be some lingering leftover showers beyond midday and into the afternoon, but there is the expectation that severe weather chances after 11 a.m. will decrease rather substantially. Rain totals, we're not looking at a flooding risk based on this. We're going to see a pretty progressive movement of this activity, so perhaps about a quarter inch in general on the low side of the accumulation range to maybe over an inch in some isolated chances where you could have some downpours or repetitive thunderstorms moving over one particular area. So watch out for the breezes. Those winds are forecast to increase. We could see steady winds of roughly about 15 to 20 miles per hour. Even in the overnight period, stronger winds can be sustained at the coast, and gusts could easily be around 30 to 40 outside of any thunderstorms. And after that front pushes through, we'll still have breezy conditions, but a different wind flow coming in from the west after the storms roll through. So to recap and review, the expectations for tonight: scattered occurrences of severe thunderstorms, gusty wind producers, hail producers around and south of the Florida state line, or maybe even the I-10 corridor. But as you go north of the state line into interior South Georgia, that's where we can see more numerous occurrences of severe thunderstorms, and that can produce successive warnings in a string of areas and perhaps even a couple of tornado warnings. That's going to be a little more probable, especially when it comes to the tornado risk around the interior South Georgia community communities and counties, Miller through Cook and Berrien, and to the north, a deeper concern for tornadoes overnight across middle and west central Georgia, as well as portions of Alabama. A lesser chance, a lesser probability of tornadoes around and south of the state line, but gusty winds can come with any of these thunderstorms, particularly again around the north of Highway 82. The Albany area and north could be a little more susceptible to strong gusty winds, and a few of those individual thunderstorms at their strongest levels, they can produce that updraft, downdraft cycle that can cause hail to form. So we do have a generally decent chance, at least a 15% chance for sometimes, of large hail. Again, be aware and be in the know of your weather situations around you starting, I'd say, around 3 a.m. to 11 a.m. I think that's the thick of the severe weather chances. Across some of our metro areas, I'd say about 6 to 8. Eastern areas will be a little bit later in the Swanee Valley. Western areas, tri-state, will be a little earlier than that, around 3 to 6. All types of severe weather are possible when it comes to the storm aspect. Damaging wind gusts could have some cells with large hail, and there can be a couple of tornadoes that would prompt tornado warnings. And again, at night, while most folks sleep, make sure you have several ways, maybe some redundancy in terms of how you get severe weather messaging while you're at rest in your bed, trying to sleep and get some good rest for your Wednesday, because you would want to be alerted to the possibility of severe weather affecting your neighborhood in the middle of the night. We're going to help you with that effort by providing online information, push alerts through our WTXL News app, as well as being just broadcasting on air. You can rely on us no matter what time of night it will be. We'll certainly be around to keep you informed and in the know, especially if there is a risk for tornadoes across some of our neighborhoods. I have a whole lot more coming up around 5 o'clock during our newscast. I'll be around. Make sure you are too, so you can stay informed as far as the evolution of tonight's severe weather risk. And just to recap and review, it's not going to be everybody getting in on tornadoes. It's not that type of system, but select areas have a higher chance. And we'll continue to analyze that through the evening, and we'll bring you the latest information on air and online.